This is CGTN, China Global Television Network.
"19 Malian soldiers killed as militants attack an army camp." China deploys hundreds of health personnel to Wuhan as coronavirus death toll rises to 56. And find out why experts are warning against giving mobile phones to children. This is CGTN. Welcome to Africa Live with me, Beatrice Marshall, in Nairobi. Also coming up on the program. In sports, the scramble for the last 8 slots in the CAF Champions League heats up. And we begin in Mali, where 19 soldiers have been killed in a pre-dawn attack on an army camp in central Mali. 5 others were wounded after attackers entered the camp near the village of Sokolo and opened fire. The army says the militants also destroyed several structures and left soon after. Reinforcements have been sent to the area as a search for the assailants continues. A Malian plane has also been deployed to the scene for monitoring. The identity of the attackers remains unclear. However, the Islamist groups with links to Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State are known to operate in arid central and northern Mali. From here, attacks have been launched on civilians as well as soldiers across the Sahel. International coalitions and regional governments have struggled to contain the spread of jihadists across West Africa. And now to the latest update on the coronavirus outbreak. 56 people are now known to have died in China. More than 2,000 cases have been confirmed globally, the vast majority in China. Tibet is the only region in the country that has not reported any case thus far. More than half of the cases in China have been reported at ground zero in Wuhan, the capital of central China's Hubei province. Across the country, more than 20,000 people are under medical observation after having close contact with patients. There are 37 cases outside China. Thailand has confirmed 8, while Japan, Malaysia, Singapore and Australia have 4 cases each. The United States, France and South Korea have each confirmed 3 cases. Meanwhile, China has reactivated a health declaration procedure for people coming in and out of the country. Travelers are required to cooperate with border control for body temperature and other medical checks. They are also required to declare if they have any symptoms of respiratory diseases. The Egyptian embassy in China says that so far no Egyptians have been infected with coronavirus. Cairo has established a hotline for its citizens in Wuhan and surrounding cities. Meanwhile, the Egyptian health minister has visited the quarantine office at the Cairo airport to follow up on inspection procedures for flights incoming from China. Here's CGTN's Adel Mahroui with the latest.
Egypt says it was one of the first countries in the world to respond to the World Health Organization's warnings about the coronavirus in China. Airports have been instructed to follow the international health regulations. All quarantine offices in Egypt have been instructed to collect names and addresses of passengers and flight crews. Their governorships' municipalities get informed to monitor their health conditions for 14 days, the incubation period for the virus. Egypt's health minister Hala Zayed made the announcement during her visit to Cairo. The minister reviewed the regulations, procedures taken and health facilities available at the airport.
We treat all waste from planes or any other materials coming from the infected areas as hazardous wastes and get rid of them accordingly. We've increased our alert status in Egypt and multiplied our health staff in all ports. We've also increased the number of standby beds in our quarantine hospitals, just in case a patient who needs care emerges.
Meanwhile, the Egyptian embassy in China says no infections have been reported among Egyptians so far. The embassy says it is collecting data to get information about the number of Egyptians in Wuhan and neighboring cities. Once collected, the Egyptian Foreign Ministry says it will share the information of Egyptians in these cities with the Chinese government. Egypt so far estimates to have 315 citizens in Wuhan, most of whom are university students. The embassy in China has established a hotline for its citizens to report in cases of emergencies. Adel Mahroui, CGTN, Cairo.
Hundreds of Gambians have staged a demonstration in the outskirts of the capital, Banjul. They are demanding justice for rights abuses and murders under former leader Yahya Jammeh. Jammeh is currently in exile in Equatorial Guinea. CGTN's Tulisha Balala has more.
Yahya Jammeh ruled the Gambia with an iron fist for 22 years. He fled in January 2017 after losing a presidential election to Adama Barrow. Jammeh is accused of numerous human rights abuses. Since January 2019, around 190 witnesses have appeared before a Truth, Reconciliation and Reparations Commission set up to investigate abuses under his rule.
Killing people without due process, people disappearing, still we have not seen their graves, raping young girls, torturing people, killing students, and killing people in the prison without due process. And his party still glorifying him and asking him to come back here as a party is an insult to the Gambian nation.
Thousands of protesters are here to demand justice for their loved ones killed or who have gone missing.
I am not a direct victim, but I can say I am affected because if a friend of mine is affected, I am affected. So as well as I can say I'm also part of the victim society. But today, I just come to stand in solidarity with the victims.
Jammeh is currently in exile in Equatorial Guinea. Calls for his return have grown recently. Tensions have heightened over Adama Barrow's decision to stay in office for 5 years, revising a previous pledge to step down after 3.
What makes me mad, they're trying to say Yahya Jammeh is coming. He has the right to come as a citizen. But before he comes, let them arrest him, take him to court. Let us hear the side of his story. Because the TRRC show us a lot that we haven't known.
We are all scared that the justice that we have been looking for, or we've been crying for, we don't think we will have it. So that's why we are sending a message to the government that they should act fast.
Barrow's cabinet has said Jammeh can return as a citizen of the Gambia. But Justice Minister Abubakar Tamado has warned that if he returns, Jammeh would face immediate arrest and charges of the most serious kind. Tuli Shabalala, CGTN.
To the latest on the Libyan conflict, and Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan says the eastern-based Libyan military commander Khalifa Haftar cannot be expected to respect a ceasefire call between his forces and pro-government troops. Turkey, which backs Libya's internationally recognized government based in Tripoli, has repeatedly described Haftar and his forces as illegitimate.
It is not possible to expect mercy and understanding from someone like Haftar on the ceasefire. The international community should know this well. Haftar has mercenaries beside him. Of course, as a result of the support and power he gets, he continues his attacks with every means available.
You're watching Africa Live, still ahead on the program. Find out why experts are warning against giving mobile phones to children.
How will your world change today? What happens here? What happens there? Or what you make happen for yourself? If it matters to you, it matters to us too. Your stories are the stories that need to be told. Africa Live. Find your voice.
Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi is set to hand over the presidency of the African Union to South Africa at the African Union Summit. Yasser Hakim looks at the main achievements and hurdles during his one-year term as the chair of the African Union.
There are multiple challenges facing Africa, and 2019 has not been any different.
The challenges facing the continent are big, such as poverty, accumulative debt, terrorism, illegal migration. And Egypt has managed to eradicate illegal migration by 99%, as well as terrorism. President Sisi has been trying to adopt the same in Africa.
Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi addressed some of these concerns during his term as chair of the African Union.
Terrorism remains a cancer that spreads inside the bodies of our African nations and destroys the dreams of its people. Fighting terrorism requires us to identify its supporters, its source of funds, so that we can face them together in unity and transparency.
Politically, one of the major successes of the African Union is its mediation between Sudanese Military Council and the opposition after the ouster of Omar al-Bashir. Long-term issues such as terrorism and internal conflicts have been harder to resolve in only 1 year. However, there have been improvements in the economic side in Africa in 2019. African countries have become one of the fastest growing economies in the world, and through multiple economic summits and agreements, the Egyptian president worked hard on increasing intra-African trade and investments. The major breakthrough has been the launch of the operational phase of the African Continental Free Trade Area in July. It has brought together 54 countries and over 1.27 billion people.
Establishing the African Free Trade Area is a dream, and this dream is becoming a reality. We can emulate the EU, who put aside their differences to create one market and one currency. When complete, this will be a huge turning point for Africa, politically, economically, socially, and security-wise.
South Africa takes over the helm of Africa in 2020. Continuing economic integration is on the agenda, but trying to bring an end to numerous conflicts that have burdened the continent remains the main priority. Yasser Hakim for CGTN, Cairo.
We now shift gear to technology and its impact on families. In Nigeria, children as young as 8 years old are already owning mobile phones given to them by their parents. But a good number of parents insist that they would not allow their children to own a mobile phone until they are mature enough. But how should parents handle this issue? Here's more from CGTN's Kelechi Emekalam.
It's a regular day for the Gideons, a conservative family in Nigeria's capital, Abuja. After their meals, the kids, Jason 11, Tiffany 9 and Nathan 4, spend at least 2 hours studying daily. Unlike some of their friends, they don't own mobile phones. For many youngsters, owning a smartphone is part of a race to fit in. But that's not happening anytime soon for the Gideon children, especially with the alternative provided for their communication.
My parents think that I should study right now, so then they now think that a mobile phone is a distraction.
We have a landline at home which we can use and call our parents anytime we want.
Aside not being mature enough to own a mobile device, their mother, Josephine, feels the need to control the sort of information they'll be exposed to.
Information is everywhere now. What a child can, you are sitting down with your child in your own phone, your child can Google some things and delete it without you knowing. Do you understand that? So I don't want all of that. Already we are contending with a lot in this day and age. There's information everywhere. So I don't want, you understand? For me, mobile phone is a distraction and it exposes them to some of the things that we are telling them not to, okay? Not to get exposed to and all of that.
Josephine also believes that children should share part of the responsibility that comes with the cost of operating a mobile phone.
I think 18 is, they should be responsible enough to own a mobile phone, because at that age, they will know that owning a mobile phone is not cheap. You know that. You understand? It's not cheap. Who will pay for the services and all of that? You pay for data, you pay for... But by the time they are 18, they already know, they have some degree of responsibility. You understand? So they know that owning a mobile phone is not child's play.
With issues like exposure to pornography and unscrupulous characters on the internet, many parents like Josephine have completely cut off their children from internet-enabled devices, or at least put them under strict supervision. Kelechi Amekalam, CGTN Abuja, Nigeria.
Well, South Africa too is trying to find a balance on whether children should be allowed to have mobile phones, as CGTN's Julie Shire reports.
Priya Luchman is a mother of two in a tech-savvy household. Her children are aged 7 and 9. They're allowed to use mobile phones under strict conditions.
We put into place a certain amount of time that it's allowed to be used. We've put restrictions onto their specific phones so that they cannot download content that is not suitable. And they, in essence, actually, neither of them have a SIM card. Their phone is actually just for music and to watch videos on iTunes or Apple Music.
Smartphones are an important tool to communicate and access information, and children adapt to technology a lot quicker than adults.
My daughter, for example, hears a song, she likes it, she gets onto iTunes and she downloads it. Even in terms of art, if there's something she needs to do with art, she can find it. She knows what she's looking for and she can go out there and she can get it. You know, there's that independence.
But smartphones come with a dark side. Children can be exposed to inappropriate and violent content. Cyberbullying is also a concern for many parents.
If they come across anything that makes them feel uncomfortable, or if anybody starts chatting to them, they need to be able to feel safe to come to you and say, look, Mom or Dad, this is what has happened. What do I do? So we'd love to protect them and put them in a bubble and keep them safe from everything, but we can't.
Excessive use of electronic devices brings health risks. Children are exposed to harmful radiation. It lowers concentration and hampers development.
It's taking away those fundamental skills that children need to develop socially, physically, emotionally. So on one hand, it's great because information is there. It's so quick. But again, they're not getting out there. They're not playing on the field. They're not getting dirty, and they're not being exposed to people.
The Luchman family tries to create a healthy balance with lots of playtime. They are, however, divided on when their children should have devices without restrictions.
My kids believe double digits, but I'm thinking closer to when they're in teens, 13, 14, 15, because that's the time when they're going to movies with friends, or when you're dropping and picking and you need them to be able to call you or call someone. I'm still debating. My husband will say when they're 18, you know what I mean? But I think it varies from child to child.
There's no right or wrong answer for when a child can use a smartphone, but the onus ultimately falls on parents to ensure they are using devices effectively. Julie Shire, CGTN, Johannesburg, South Africa.
Chadian President Idriss Deby has sent his well wishes for the new year to the people of China.
In the occasion of the Chinese New Year, the Year of the Rat, which will start this January 25th, 2020, I wish health, happiness and prosperity to my dear friend President Xi Jinping, to the Chinese government and to all the Chinese people. May this year be for the Chinese people and the whole world. A year of lasting peace, solidarity and stability.
Now, traditionally, the holiday is a time for family gatherings, but that's not always possible for senior citizens in nursing homes. As CGTN's Lina reports, that has not stopped them from having fun in the new year.
84-year-old Cao Jingde worked in Shanghai Film Studio before retirement. His charm is still irresistible at the Spring Festival celebrations in Beiqiao Nursing Home. It's his first Chinese New Year here.
Today's event is very good. It gave me the feeling that my life will get better and better.
Beiqiao Nursing Home is the first professional care institution in Shanghai for those suffering from Alzheimer's disease. Cao can barely remember what happened or what he said just a few minutes ago. He moved here in July 2019. And his daughter says sending him here was the right thing to do.
He looks happier here. His verbal communication has improved a lot. It is the right place for him. He has been ill and could hardly go out. This is the first time that he is celebrating with so many people in many years.
According to China's National Health Commission, there are 249 million people older than the age of 60 in the country, accounting for 17.9% of China's total population. There are also an estimated 10 million people with Alzheimer's disease.
A fast-aging population poses serious challenges to the elderly care system in China. The one-child policy, effective before 2016, had contributed to a demographic structure that is top-heavy with old people.
Although Chinese people have a tradition of caring for their elders at home, more and more families are looking for professional care services. In Beiqiao Nursing Home, elders are divided into small units like families and receive care plan on an individual basis.
We offer person-centered care and we focus on individuals rather than the Alzheimer's disease itself. We have created family units with individual styles matching the character of the elders and the staff. Elders are taken care of based on their individually unique conditions.
Shanghai authorities started transforming traditional nursing homes to meet the demands of elders with Alzheimer's disease in 2018. More than 2,500 beds have been upgraded so far, and a total of 8,000 beds will be upgraded by 2020 to give elders more professional care and dignified lives. Li Nan, CGTN, Shanghai.
And your sports news coming up next. Here's what's ahead. The scramble for the last 8 slots in the CAF Champions League heats up.
How would you create your legend? On the fields, on the tracks, in the arenas of Africa. Were you born to be a player? Could this moment be yours? Sports Scene. Find